This is the 3811 podcast, and we back. I
Back
got
at
Chad back to my right side.
What's
This
up?
the-
What's up?
I don't know how people can see it on the camera, and this man we got back again for another episode doesn't need an introduction, but it's one of my good friends from high school, my brother, Bobby Roberts. Everybody give him a hand.
My man, what up?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, brother? What's going
Been
on?
waiting to get back.
Yeah, man. What we were trying to discuss, whether if it was like December or January. I said it was in between that time when all you know what broke loose because the weather in Virginia has been like
bipolar,
crazy.
All
Snow,
over the place.
ice, snow, ice, snow, ice. Like,
60, 50.
yeah.
and then y'all heard
18.
about what in Texas? What it was like -8 degrees.
It was like
-8
negative 8, and just like they don't know how to handle it. They're not built for it. So
No, they don't have the equipment.
nothing.
They don't have nothing to move it.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's tons of people. I saw it's not funny, but it's like a Domino's. They had like 4 weeks of food and it went out in like hours. Because
4 hours.
Yeah, like 4
4 hours,
hours.
yep.
And people just like going out there, just like buying food. They don't know what to do and everything like that. But pray for them people, you know,
Absolutely,
keep them in your
man.
wishes. But I said that is just insane. But
Shit, they talk in Farmville 16 days before they get power back on.
Oh
What?
snap! Now I ain't know that. I ain't know about that.
And that's in Virginia.
Yeah.
How long is it going to be until Texas
Wow.
or Alabama, Mississippi, you know, all them states that's down there right there with it?
yeah,
Man.
I just, it's people up north. See, we say it to people down south.
Yeah.
And then people up north be like, man, y'all shutting schools down with like an inch of, you know?
It's
Hey,
true.
But
True.
they've been doing virtual learning here for
Yeah.
a year.
For a
Yeah.
year now, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
that's-
shut
that's true.
schools down. They're not doing virtual learning. I'm like,
Yeah.
but wait a minute.
Yeah.
If you can do it, do it.
Yeah,
right?
you
Yeah.
might as well, just because they.
I mean, you
know,
might as well do it if you have the option to.
What, they
Everybody
got
already got the computers.
What they got
Yeah.
the kids outside sitting in the snow doing schoolwork.
True that, man.
So I think one thing, or Chad, you can ask Bobby the
Yeah.
topics we wanted to get into because it's not a field that we familiar with.
Right.
It's like we totally understand it,
Right.
we get it, but we just want to know the lifestyle, what it takes, what's going on, like what
Yeah.
can you convey to the people or younger people, you know, about the military. And Chad, you can, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
elaborate on that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, even like as a young person, you know, coming out of high school, you know, they don't even know what they want to do. I mean, you even when you get into adulthood, right? People who in college, people still list their, you know, major as undecided. So like, you know, but I just actually had one of my students. He actually just joined the Marines, and so he got shipped off. He's in basic training right now. You know, what does it take, you know, to kind of, you know, prepare yourself for, you know, the unknown when you know, sign up, you know, you take the test, physical, written, whatever that comes along with that. Like, what does it take, you know, to actually have your mind prepared for what's to come?
And get before you just give people a little background on,
Yeah.
you know, what I don't know if we kind of explained it enough while we going into this topic. Just give people a little background of what.
Well,
you know.
the biggest one thing is everybody's different.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. So I'm just going to speak on my behalf
Yeah.
because that's all I know.
True that.
You know, I know other people that
Yeah.
joined and served with and whatnot, but I didn't know their mindset. So my mindset, back in 2007,
8, 9.
2016, 2007, that's when I first kind of approached the drill instructor. Or not the drill instructor, the recruiter, sorry.
Okay.
And it was right there outside of the cafeteria.
Mm.
And he was in for, I don't even know, 15 years, 10, 15 years, whatever it was. He had already been there. He'd already done it. He'd been to Iraq 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
He was original, old school. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So me approaching him, for me, it was just another day.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? For him, that was his, you know, that was his job. He was a recruiter.
Mhm.
I can't get into detail about the conversation we had. You know, it was fairly quick and to the point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, you know, this is right for you.
Okay.
And you know Richie Roby.
Yeah.
So he joined, I can't remember, 6 months, 8 months before me.
Mm-hmm.
He actually graduated in dress blues. He already went through basic or boot camp. He already went through boot camp and graduated with us after he graduated boot camp.
Wow.
So he did everything he needed to prior to, and then he went in.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew going into it, which my grandfather hated. He was Air Force back in Vietnam. He wanted me in the Air Force. He's like, go Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
the jobs, everything's going to open up for you.
Right.
And me being me, I'm like, nah. Like, aside from special forces, SEALs, and all that, I was like, I want the hardest one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I was the guy, which we hit on this last time. People doubted.
Yeah.
People doubted a lot.
Right.
And they were like, you're going to be a criminal.
Come on.
You'll be a drug addict. You're
Yeah.
not going to be anybody. You're never going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
Teachers at Fluvanna High School said that.
That's
and
wicked.
again, I'm not going to mention them. We talked about it.
Yeah. Discreet when I said nothing.
Man.
And it wasn't just one, it was multiple, and I said, you know what? I was like, nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna do it big. Right. So I was just like, I had talked to the Army recruiter that it came.
Mm-hmm.
And just talking to him one-on-one, I was just kind of like, you're blowing smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want to talk to you.
Yeah. Right,
and not to discredit the Army, but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
He was soft.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, he was soft, honestly.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, man, I'm going to talk to the Marine recruiter. I got to just see what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our conversation was 45 seconds.
Wow. Before you made your decision?
Yeah, 45 seconds.
Man.
I was sitting back there at the group of guys that I hung out with.
Yeah.
A lot of guys I still talk to, but we were sitting there and at the lunchroom eating lunch. And I was like, you know what? He's here. I'd already talked to the Army. I ain't worried about them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up there and talk to him. A bunch of guys were like, give it up.
Yeah.
You're just talking out your ass.
Yeah.
I said, nah. I said, I'm gonna go up there right now. So I walked on up there. And again, I can't talk about the conversation, but it was 45 seconds. I don't even think it was a full minute.
Man.
And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. He said, well, how old are you? I said, I'm 16 at the time, 17.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, just give it a couple months. I'll get you into the recruiting depot.
All right.
He said, bring your parents. We'll talk. So I did. And my parents 100% supported me.
Nice.
They were all about it because they knew back in the early 2000s, late 2000s, there wasn't much around here to do.
Yeah.
A lot of guys did distribution center,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great job, man, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me,
Yeah.
And prior to that, like I learned building and things like that, but it just wasn't what I wanted.
There we go. Yeah.
So I was like, I got to do something. I got to get away.
Yeah.
I want to get out of Fluvanna. I want to venture out, right?
For sure.
So what really nailed the coffin for me was Richie.
Mm-hmm.
So he did boot camp,
Mhm.
came home. Of course, I was like, tell me all about it. And he's like, I'll tell you a little bit, but you gotta do it.
Right. Right.
I said, that's fine. But right then and there, I was just like, all right. So I went August 24th of 2008.
Okay.
A couple months after high school. I had to wait. I was in the DEP program for a whole year plus, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I got in a 4-wheeler accident when I was younger, back when we were in the 10th grade. You were in the 11th. I was in 10th. And it almost disqualified me.
Dang.
But I told the recruiter, I'm like, man, scratch it.
Right.
I'm not worried about my medical past.
Right,
Like
right.
I'm doing this.
What is it, like off of like broken bones or
I
something?
wrecked a 4-wheeler. I hit a telephone pole.
So what do they go off? Do they go off of like broken bones or something like
So
that? Or
concussions,
okay.
certain bones
Yeah.
that are broken. If you break a finger, that's not a disqualifying.
Okay.
If you break
What, your ankle?
femur or something. No, I didn't break anything.
Okay.
I shattered the whole right side of my face.
Good Lord.
Cheekbone, eye socket, nasal cavity,
Mhm.
jawbone.
Dang.
I had like multiple concussions, and
Yeah.
shoulder issues, and my vertebrae in my neck.
Wow.
And it took a while to get my medical record, and he's
Okay.
like, he looked right at me. He's like, dude, there's nothing I can do for you.
Dang.
And I said, well, just return my medical record back to me
Yeah.
and we'll be done. And he's like, well, okay. And before anything could be signed,
Yeah.
I scrapped it right in the shredder. And I'm like, here's my medical record.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he kind of looked at my parents. My parents were like,
Yeah.
he's a grown man, he's 18.
Yeah.
It's his decision.
Right.
That was 2 weeks before I was supposed to ship out.
Dang.
And I'm like, I've waited this long, a
Yeah.
year and a half. I'm not doing that. I'm going.
Yeah.
So kind of fast forward, boot camp's different.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain because one, it was so long ago, it was 2008. But it's almost like you have this excitement
Okay.
when you get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
I
And
already
then
know
you
what it's going
realize
to.
there ain't no reason to be excited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like mixed emotions, man. And you
Yeah.
go through this, and you get put through so many different things while you're there.
Yeah. They try to break you. Like
They do.
That's
They
what
do
I've
try to
always
break you.
heard. Okay.
To an extent. They don't want to go too far
Gotcha.
because they want you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They still want you
Mhm.
at the end of the day. They still want you.
Okay.
So they don't go but so far.
Okay.
But physically demanding to no end.
Mhm.
You do get sleep. It's not like, an hour of sleep a day.
Yeah.
But you get a full, I believe we went to sleep at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Woke up at 04. That was that. And it's not like, hey, time to wake up. You know what I'm saying?
Kick the
That's
door
far
in.
from
Get
it.
up!
So yeah. I mean, they come through, and it's not. So you always have somebody on post every hour. So it's a
Mhm.
different recruit in boot camp on post every hour, and that
Gotcha.
prepares you for the fleet. Because
Mhm.
when you get to the fleet
Yeah.
and you deploy, you have to have somebody on post watching your six, right? So
Gotcha.
boot camp, they drill everything in your head to make sure that you're prepared for what's to come.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And it all makes sense. When you get there, you're like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
What the hell am I doing this for?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it makes sense
Yeah.
once you get to the fleet, right?
Okay.
So you get woke up 15 minutes prior to actual reveille, what they call reveille.
Reveille. Yep.
So they're like, 15 minutes, and then it's like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got to get up. You got to make your rack. Perfect folds, 45s, everything tucked, everything tight. You bounce a dime off of it. You know what I'm
Whoa.
saying? I don't want to make it sound like it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it sound like it was hard, because
Yeah.
looking back, that was the easiest time of mine in the Marine Corps. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of the things, but you don't out here in the civilian world, you do your own laundry, right? And
Mhm.
you do your taxes, you pay your bills, all these different things. Well,
Yeah.
in the Marine Corps, you've got a lot of people doing those things for you for the most part.
Gotcha. Okay.
You still have to do your taxes,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
still got to do your taxes that you make. You got to do your laundry.
Okay.
Who's doing your laundry once you get out of boot camp?
Yeah.
Once when you're in boot camp, somebody does your laundry.
Okay.
I can't remember. God, it's been years. SOI, which is right after base boot camp.
Okay.
I'm pretty certain you do your own laundry there. But either way, it's just, man, the environment, the people you're around.
Yeah.
Because out here in the civilian world, I don't know you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I know you, but I don't know him. But
Right.
we're here, right? We're
Yeah.
here together.
Yeah.
In the Marine Corps, we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking personal level.
Yeah.
When you're in boot camp, they make it to where if you don't know somebody, you're going to find out who they are.
Mm.
If you have a problem with somebody, that's going to be your best friend by the time you graduate, because there can't be animosity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There
Absolutely.
can't be any bullshit
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
You forget the sensitivity.
Right.
So they desensitive or make you desensitive to certain situations.
Right.
And I mean, you shower together. You know what I'm saying? 80 some people in a company
right.
in a set of showers with 10 shower heads.
Yeah.
You do the math.
Sound
you know what I'm saying?
Sound like a football team.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, a lot of the guys, I wasn't an athlete in high school. But a lot of the guys that were athletes, that's what they kind of compared it to. They're like, yeah, man, it's football showers.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever. Which I didn't have a problem. It was just whatever, man. You're in there to shower.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
You get used to the screaming aspect, the hurry up aspect, like you don't have time. When they count down from 10, they skip everything except for 1. You know what I'm saying? So it was physical.
Okay.
Because at the time, going into it, there was only a handful of guys that were really physically fit. For me, I'm not a runner. But in the Marine Corps, you got to run.
You got to run. Yeah.
You got to run.
Like
miles.
Long. I was gonna say like
miles.
The distances, man.
It's not just 100 yards. When you first get there, you do a test to kind of see where you're at.
Yeah.
Kind of like a preliminary.
Yeah.
It's a 1.5 miles in 13 minutes, I believe.
Oh, okay.
You got to do some pull-ups, crunches, things of that nature. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And man, I remember I was never a runner. I was short distance. I could sprint. I could sprint like crazy. And I could do like a lap on a track real fast.
Yeah.
But I was never I hated the mile. You know what I'm saying? Because I've got short legs, man. Short legs and a stocky body. I hated it. I couldn't do it.
I know what you mean.
So I was always slower,
Okay.
So when we got there, right, and we had to do this test, it was like I was not in the front. I was more towards the back, right? Yeah. And man, I was dying. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine, bro.
It was only 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
I ran the mile in school all the time. And I always played football with friends, and we were always running and doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
But it was like you were in a different location in South Carolina, where the air is so thick, man, in the swamps that you couldn't breathe. For me, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And man, you had in your mind, like, I can't fail.
Yeah.
I can't show up here and not put out. Right. So
exactly.
it's like, but at the same time, it's like I was in the worst shape ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is terrible, and I'm running, man. And I just remember they had a Humvee and a couple drill instructors that were all the way in the back. And if that Humvee passes you, they never hit the gas, man. But if that Humvee passes you,
oh shoot,
that's it. So, dude, I'm just running. I'm breathing. I'm dying. I'm just like, God. And back then, I smoked cigarettes.
Okay.
So it was just breathing was not there. And I just remember, I kind of was like, man, I hear something, but I wasn't really paying attention, man. And I look back, man, that Humvee was like
right there,
20 yards behind me.
Oh wow!
But there were still people behind me that were falling back, man. And I'm like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
This isn't the guy that approached the recruiter.
Yeah.
Wanting to do this, wanting to be who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I had 2 younger brothers who my parents had late in life. Almost 40 years old, having kids. Yeah. And I was already graduating high school. They were only 4 years old, 5 years old.
Wow.
They were all about it. They're like, "Oh, my brother's going to be a Marine."
Yeah,
they saw they saw the same shit I did growing up on the TV. Fallujah, Ramadi, Afghanistan, Iraq. That's what it all was based on.
Yep.
They saw that stuff. So it was like, I was like, man, I can't go home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I can't go home.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't understand that I failed.
Right.
That's something that they were so excited about, you know, and I'm like, I failed myself, and the teachers, they kept
Yeah.
hitting me, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, see, I can.
dude,
Yeah.
I just remember, man, I picked it up and just kept going, and just I got ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blacked it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Finished. I was dying. You know, it was like finally got some water.
Yeah.
And man, you know, boot camp. Honestly, looking back, it was the easiest thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The whole time you were in the military, you know,
Right.
that was the easiest part of it all.
Okay.
But at the time, it was challenging. It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
It was challenging, and honestly, it's a mental game.
Yeah. See, that's what I was thinking. You know.
You get pushed mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I was always told, man, is if you have to run, what is running? It's just a little faster than a step.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you maintain a run, you're considered you're running, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Some type of.
So you
pace.
can never not run. You can always run. Just go a little faster than a walk. That's running. That's kind of the same thing, man. With the whole mentality behind it is, you may not, and they know what they're getting when they recruit you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, this guy's not going to be the best guy at pull-ups or
Right.
running or anything.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, who knows what it could be, especially pertaining to your job that you got.
Right.
I was infantry.
Oh.
I went into the ASVAP under the influence.
Okay.
And I just honestly, I just dicked off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hit A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
I got like 43. You know, I can't remember what failing is, but I think it wasn't much less than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's just for the test, or is
just
that...
for the ASVAP, just to be able to say that I'm able to join the military.
Gotcha.
Oh.
So it was, you know, I didn't take it serious at first, but
Yeah.
once I started getting there, man, it was
Mhm.
like, I got to take it serious.
Yeah.
Got through everything. Did good. Shot expert on the rifle range, you know, and that
Nice.
was a whole nother ball game. It was kind of low stress
Okay.
because, you know, everybody's got guns. Some
Yeah.
kids mentally can't handle stuff, and
Yeah.
they want to make it relaxed. You know, you got to shoot good
Mm-hmm.
to be
Yeah.
able to continue, you know, all these different things. And then I remember the Crucible, you know, that was a whole nother ball game, man. That was
Mhm.
high stress. It was no sleep,
Mhm.
just a little bit of food that you know, I think it was 2 MREs you got for 3 days. I think it was, I can't remember, 96 hours, 72, 96 hours. Crucible was. And then there was land nav that you had to do. You had to do obstacle courses. You had to do barbed wire obstacle courses, all these different things, man. And it's day and night.
Mm.
You don't know when they're going to wake you up.
Mhm.
So it was definitely like a test, you know.
Yeah.
And again, looking back at it, it was the easiest thing we ever did. But at the time, man, it was just like,
Yeah.
it was all there. And I remember the straight stretch going back to the parade field where you do drill. I remember the straight stretch. We just rounded the corner and hit the straight stretch, man. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's there. That's it. Like, that's the point. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's almost like your whole body goes numb.
Mhm.
Your mind, your body, everything just numbs out. And you're like, if I can make it, say 300 yards, whatever it was,
Yeah.
then that's it. I'm a United States Marine at that point.
That's awesome, man.
And can't nobody take that away.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
So it's like you're dehydrated, you're hungry, you haven't slept in days, you're disgusting, you ain't showered in days, you're just, you know, you got to pack, you're broke down.
Yeah.
But when you get there, that's when they start building you up.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
yeah.
And they're like, you did it. 13 weeks. You know what I'm saying? You did it. And
Yeah.
then you got these guys that you know, that you trusted, that you were with, that taught you and trained you that whole time, telling you, like, my name is not sir anymore. It's sergeant or staff sergeant because you earned that. That accomplishment alone, man, thinking back to the teachers, it's like,
yeah, that's awesome.
I did it. I
Yeah,
just did this.
psychological warfare. You're fighting with yourself.
But then you go to job school.
Okay.
So whatever your job pertains to, that's where you learn your MOS. So for me, infantry, man, you've got 0311, 0331, 41, 51, 69s, all these different job titles, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember I was supposed to be with machine guns or an assortment handling explosives and stuff like that. And I denied it. I'm like, no, I want to be just infantry. I just want to be a rifleman. I don't want all the extras. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And it's funny because there was a couple other Robert Roberts in boot camp with me.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
My name's Robert Roberts. Like, that's my legal name.
Yeah.
Well, there was other Robert Roberts there.
That's
one from
amazing.
North Carolina, one from Georgia.
Wow.
And we kept getting each other's mail. It was stressful, dude. It was like, man, I don't even know who this person is writing me, you know?
Wow.
So when we got to SOI, which is the School of Infantry, that's where you learn your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They kept confusing us.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they're like, no, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be with machine gunners. And I'm like, that's not my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you got to be respectful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to acknowledge their rank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something ain't making sense, man.
Yeah.
That's when I found out there was two other
people.
And I'm like, there ain't no damn way somebody named their kid Robert Roberts besides me.
Yeah.
And one of the dudes looks like me. I'll show you a picture later.
Yeah, let me.
It's
I
weird.
See that.
It's really weird.
That's scary.
We all. What is it? We all got a doppelganger.
Yeah, doppelgangers, right? Yeah. So I'm like, man, this is, and finally, man, it got to the point where it was just like, the job school, job training. It was like constant shooting on the ranges, throwing grenades, all the different things that you might run into and that you might do is what you do. So it's kind of more, it's more lackadaisical.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you're doing your job just in training.
Yeah.
So you're learning. Yeah. You're learning all the different things that you're going to need to do without all of the boot camp stuff.
Yeah.
You could use tobacco to an extent. They didn't want to see it. They didn't want to smell it. When they said that it's a no-go, you didn't do it, and so it was definitely more lax than boot camp.
Okay.
Then you get into the fleet, right? So this is the moment everybody's been waiting for. You're picking up with your battalion, company, platoon, squad, fire team down to the lowest level.
Okay.
Well, when we got to Hawaii, Kaneohe Bay, our battalion was deployed. They were in Iraq.
Oh,
snap. So we really didn't have too much to look forward to, right? Yeah. So we didn't know the guys that we were going to be with other than the guys that just came in, the boot drop. So we had to wait. Well, when they came home, they had 30 days of leave.
Okay.
So we saw them, but then they went on leave. So we're like, man, what do we do? Like we don't know any of them. Yeah. We don't know those senior guys, the guys that have been deployed, the guys that have done it, and who's going to be our leadership. We didn't meet any of them. Wow. It was a couple months. So finally we picked up with them. That is when the hard part started. So if that's any advice to the younger guys that might be listening to this podcast, you may think boot camp is hard, but it's not that hard. Yeah. You just need to do it. Right? You just need to just do it. Just shut up and do it.
Yeah,
do what you got to do.
Right.
Because when you get to the fleet, that's gloves off. Yeah. There's no drill instructors. There's no rights, so to speak, right? You don't have rights. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think. Yeah. So whoever your leadership is, your direct leadership, right? So you've got a battalion. It's got Alpha, Bravo, Charlie weapons companies.
Mhm.
Each company's got, I don't know, 25, 250, 300 guys in the company.
Okay.
And I was Charlie company. Then each platoon's got 25 guys, 30 guys, whatever it is, whatever it breaks down to. And it's first, second, third platoon, weapons platoon. So your weapons are those other jobs, right? So you got 31s, 41s, 51s. You got machine gunners, you've got mortarmen, you've got assaultmen. Assaultmen do the rockets, mortarmen shoot the mortars, machine guns shoot the machine guns.
Yeah.
The big guns.
Yeah.
So you always have somebody above you in a sense, right? So
Yeah.
you've got your platoon sergeant who's enlisted, then you have a platoon commander who is an officer.
Okay.
You've got a squad leader, 4 squads, so 4 squad leaders. Then you've got 3 teams in each squad. So you've got 4 times 12 team leaders.
Yeah.
And then 3 guys in each team plus the team leader, so 4-man teams.
Yeah.
So when I say it was an eye opener, man, I remember when those guys first came home from leave. They were just deployed. You know, we're new.
Yeah.
We're still wet behind the ears. We don't know shit. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's like I just remember some of the stuff that you know, talking to some of these guys and whatnot, man. And at the time, I'm like, I hate these dudes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see why they were acting the way they were acting. They were complete assholes.
Okay.
And one of my best friends till the day I die, and I would personally die for him. Hugh Rice, I still play Xbox with him just about every night of the week. And I wasn't even in his team or squad. He kind of, those guys come back, man. They kind of pick
mentor you
the new guys, not who they're going to lead, but they just kind of pick through the crowd, like who's going to be that guy.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the good dude?
Yeah.
Who's going to work hard? Who's, you know what I'm saying? Who they're going to be cool with?
Yeah.
And him and a couple other guys kind of were like, we like you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to sit here and put myself on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? I was just a Marine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not a hero. I'm not that guy. But, you know, a few guys picked me out of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I got along with them, you know, and they are the ones that prepare you for the deployments. A drill instructor can be any job.
Yeah.
Any job in the Marine Corps. They can be Marine Corps band, if I'm not mistaken. I think they qualify to be drill instructors if they want to do that billet. So just because those drill instructors, you know, they were there, they mentored you to be a Marine.
Yeah.
They did not mentor you to be a fleet Marine, because you have the Marine Corps, then you have Fleet Marine Force. Those are the guys that deploy.
Okay.
So they may not have ever deployed. So when you get to the fleet, now you're meeting these dudes that have deployed.
Who've been in the,
Man, I served under guys that were first Marine Corps boots on ground in Fallujah. You know what I'm saying? Back in 2004.
Wow.
I met guys that were in prior to that, because a lot of people don't know Marine Corps was in Afghanistan and the U.S. was in Afghanistan before Iraq.
Okay.
I met dudes that were in Afghanistan fighting for their lives every single day.
Dang.
So it was like, man, I had all these, I mean, it was overwhelming. It really was. And if you thought boot camp was hard as far as physical, you're in a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have full kit in boot camp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You had load bearing vest, which was lightweight.
Okay.
When you get to the fleet, now you have a full combat load. You've got packs, gear, ammo, everything. You know, 45, 50 pounds extra of gear, plus your firearm, plus all your ammo, plus all your magazines that you're training with every day, right?
Yeah.
So you do all these different training. You know, you do everything.
Yeah.
You blow stuff up. You shoot things, grenade launch. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're doing it, right, you're like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I never dreamt of this.
Yeah.
you always seen it growing up, watching movies and playing video games, but it was never right there in front of you.
Yeah.
So when you're doing it, man, it's balls to the wall. You know, it's fun.
Yeah.
But you do know that this is just training, right? So you're like, take it serious.
Yeah.
You know, train like you're going to fight.
Right.
So I think I was in Hawaii for a couple months. You know, there's all different training things you can do there. We went to Mojave Viper out in California, Death Valley. Out in the desert, you know, you train kind of to the scenario that you're going to overseas. So it was perfect because it was the desert. It was hot, you know, cold at night. So great training out there. They've got their own instructors. They do all the, I mean, anything you can imagine you're doing in these training events, you know what I'm saying? And they suck to no end, right? Like your hardest day at work, that's like the intro, right? So it's a whole nother world when you get into some of these training events, man, because a couple of them are a couple hours long. And you ain't allowed to stop. You have to go. You got to do what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird because you're doing these training events, and again, you have that excitement.
Yeah.
That you get to do something new, so you're going to go do it. And it was always something new, right? Always changing. That excitement was there. But man, when, like for us, the guys that deployed before us, they deployed to Iraq. Well, when we got to the fleet, they're like, well, y'all are going to Afghanistan. Y'all aren't going to Iraq. Because things were kind of fizzling out.
Okay.
That
so
was
I
the
was just
progression into the new.
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
So they were kind of changing things over.
Yeah.
So when they told us that, I'm like, well, I don't know shit about Afghanistan. They've been telling us all about Iraq because that's who trained us. We're Iraq vets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, and those guys were like, we don't know nothing about Afghanistan. What do we do? You know? And everybody was it was kind of just, we knew what we had to do.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew our job.
Right.
Everybody knew what they had to do.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what Afghanistan was. We saw pictures. We saw videos. You know, we had briefs about other battalions that were there doing their thing. But it was like the unknown.
Yeah.
And I remember we got, you know, you get leave, 30 days leave. I think it was 30 days leave, 14, 30 days leave, whatever it was, prior to deployment, pre-deployment leave, right? And I just remember, man, I'm like in a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Because all this time, you know, I went from boot camp, I went home for 10 days, went to job school, SOI, and I got to go home for 10 days in the middle of it because of Christmas.
Okay.
So I got to go home for 10 days for Christmas, which was cool because most people don't.
Yeah.
Then after SOI, I didn't get to go home. I went straight from North Carolina, Camp Geiger, North Carolina, straight to Hawaii. Man. And I'm from, you know, I'm not going to say it. Fluvanna County. I was going to put some words in front of that. So, you know, my parents, I just remember I called them and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Hawaii. They're like, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm ready to travel, I guess, but that's a long way.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
ways
different.
Away. Yeah.
But, so you're there and man, I was there for 6-7 months.
Wow.
Then I got to come home because we were getting ready to deploy, you know? So it was like coming home was just like culture shock.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, 6-7 months in, you know.
I'm isolated in boot camp and that's why. And then I go straight to Hawaii and then I come home and it's like culture shock. But I'm like,
you kind of see where you've been at for the past, 18 years. And you like, I was living in, you know, I was living in this.
Yeah.
And I've been experiencing, you know, all this. I could see where you.
That's when they put the stoplight at CVS. So I'm driving down the road.
Like one of the last counties in the state of
Bro,
Virginia to get a stoplight.
Wow.
I'm like,
that's crazy.
what is CVS? Because we always had Walgreens.
Yeah.
Or the Folk Union Pharmacy.
Or the one right over there near the food line, right?
Yeah, Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, what is CVS? I didn't even know what it was,
Man.
right? So I'm like, and I look up and I see the stoplight. I'm like,
wow.
When did that happen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So all these different things were changing, you know. But it was just, man, it was surreal because the night before I had to fly back to Hawaii, man, I just remember, dude, I'm like, I'm going to Afghanistan in a week.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Not even Hawaii, let alone home. I'm going overseas.
Yeah.
And I remember I broke down crying.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
Sweating, man. I'm like,
heart pumping at your
yeah,
chest.
dude. So, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know. You don't know the unknown.
The unknown. That's what I was saying, man.
Man,
just, like, how do you prepare for that?
Dude, it was just like, you didn't know.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Wow.
You didn't know. You don't know. You didn't know. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
So, you know, the last couple nights in Hawaii, you live it up. You know what I'm saying? You're drinking, you're hanging out with your boys. You know what I'm saying? You're doing all that you can do prior to leaving. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I think on my first deployment, I think we went through. I think we went to Alaska first. Flew from Hawaii to Alaska. Longest flight of my damn life. Like 11 hours, dude. It was horrible. Because we were flying against the jet stream.
Okay. Yep.
From there, we flew from there to Germany.
Okay.
Alaska to Germany. It was like 15 and a half
Good
hours.
Lord. Dude, no way.
I took NyQuil, woke up, and it was like 6 hours in.
Oh,
so I'm like, let me take 2 more NyQuil. I'm going to go back to bed, right? So, man, we landed in Germany. And from there, we went to Kyrgyzstan, which is just a little country over there. And there was an Air Force base there. And that was where customs for the military, I guess, coming and going was one of the locations.
Yeah.
There was other locations, Kuwait and things like that. But we went to Kyrgyzstan. And it was muggy, foggy. It was never sunshine. It was just raining and fog. It was just horrible. Yeah. And you're like,
bad spot to be in.
And then you fly into Afghanistan, right? And you're like, what is going to happen when we get here?
Yeah, when you land, like, do you like take home bullets? Like,
you're not, and it's kind of hard to explain, but so there's big bases, that are the size of Charlottesville, Virginia. There's
and
big
it's
bases
owned by us, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's big bases: Camp Leatherneck, Camp Bastion, Bagram Airfield up in northern Afghanistan. There's a bunch of different ones, right?
Yeah.
These are huge.
Wow.
And they have everything. There was McDonald's, Pizza Hut,
what
weird shit. But I mean, it wasn't like
who works it. I mean, is it just like civilians?
So there's civilian contractors. There's other civilians from other countries that are there. There's it's a joint operating base. So there's the British are there.
Okay.
The British Army, right?
Yeah.
American Army.
Yeah.
Whatever other countries were involved.
Yeah.
So all these different countries, they have different sections for everybody, but everybody can kind of intermingle.
Nice. Okay.
So that's your last stop before you go out to your patrol base where you're going to be, right? So you've got like a company position, which is not huge, but it's fairly big, maybe the size of this development here that you live in, give or take, maybe a little bigger. And that's where your company officials stay, right? So like all your high-ranking guys in your company. And then from there, you have positions out. So you've got forward operating bases, which we call a FOB, F-O-B.
F-O-B, yeah.
So, or patrol, you got patrol bases, forward operating positions, all these different things. And you had a platoon that went to each one. For the most part, and then one stayed with the company. I remember, God, what was the name of that place? Patrol base PB Jangly. Jangly, it was the name of it.
Nice.
And
nice
it was a name. I think it was Afghani.
Okay.
Which it was either I can't remember what language it was. Pashtun. It was something in it. I forgot the meaning it had, but there was a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And it won't big. You know what I'm saying? Like it won't big.
Yeah.
And I remember the only source of power that we had was a Humvee.
Whoa.
Like that's how you charge your radios.
So you had infinite amounts of gas, I'm assuming.
We had cans of fuel, JP8. It's diesel and gas mixed. But we had cans, and you would just have to keep refilling it. So you'd start it up, let it run for 3 hours, turn it off for 3 hours, start it up, let it run for 3 hours. You had to keep the batteries charged. So
wow,
we were the furthest ones away from the company. So we had to maintain radio contact, right? So that was on my first deployment. And then from there, man, we had little what was that other place called? It was just a little outpost that we had way on the edge of the desert, away from everybody, you know, and we usually only kept a squad there at a time. It was like 6 to 8 guys.
Okay.
Kind of sketchy. I can't remember the name of that one now. But when you get there, man, you're not in training anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it becomes like this is like the real thing.
You got a different mindset.
Yeah.
Like
on foreign soil is like, you know, there's somebody out there who wants me out of here. So like, you know, I'm sure mentally you gotta, you know, just keep your head on a swivel. I mean,
the worst, and for me, it wasn't even about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, God, I hope I don't step on an IED today, or God, I hope I don't get shot today. It was, I hope all these other guys go home.
Get to go
right?
home. Yeah.
Because I was point man with another guy crossing. We ran dual point, which most people only ran one point man. We ran dual point because there's 2 sets of eyes.
Okay.
And it kind of breaks up the monotony of just walking alone.
Yeah.
Because that really puts you in a dark place. When you're walking alone by yourself away from everybody else, you're like, you're not only.
So do you have, so when you say point man, it's like you walking alone, but then your guys are kind of watching.
Everybody trickles in behind you.
Oh,
so you've got, a squad, right? You got 3 fire teams of 4 guys. I don't think we had that many. I think we only had 3 fire teams, 3 guys each, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, so each fire team, right, the team level, you got 4 guys. You have 3 M16s. One of the M16s, which is the team leader, has the 203 grenade launcher. And then you have a saw gunner, which is your M249 saw, which is fully automatic. It's a light machine gun.
Nice.
That's what my first deployment, I had a light machine gun, M249 saw, which we always, you know, most point men had an M16.
Yeah.
That's it. Bare bones M16.
Yeah.
They were the point man. Well, what we decided, because we weren't in Iraq, right? That was Iraq.
Yeah.
That was all they knew in Iraq was point man has the M16. He goes first in the door. We weren't kicking in doors in Afghanistan because it was farms.
Yeah.
It was spread out, man. It was wide open. There was no urban, you know, where we were. We were 13 miles from Pakistan in the southernmost point.
Okay.
Or not. That was my second deployment. Sorry. We were a little bit further up, probably 30, 40 miles from Pakistan, down in southern Afghanistan. But it was like, when you think about it, you don't want an M16 up front, right? You're like, man, you need firepower up front.
Yeah.
So we were like M249 saw, and then we had our DM guy who had the Mark 12, which is a designated marksman rifle, scope, extended barrel, silencer, and all that shit.
Yeah.
Because you had to put down accurate and suppressive fire, right? So that's what you wanted up front, because you weren't going into houses.
Yeah.
You weren't doing searching and raiding,
Yeah.
anything like that. You were walking in fields in the wide open.
Yeah.
That's it. And then down roads, you know, all these different things. So that's how you set it up. So it was 2 guys. Then it was just one staggered, one.
Gotcha.
Like that. And then usually you would have one guy in the rear, but sometimes we ran dual rear just in case you picked up anything from the rear. So, I mean, there's a method behind it all. Like, you got to be able to do contact right, contact left, front and back. You got to be able to be prepared for it and be able to split off, do flanking, all these different things, right? So, first deployment, man, it was an eye opener.
Yeah.
To what you knew you were going to be doing again in 6 to 8 months, because when you leave Afghanistan, you know, you still got 2.5 years in the Marine Corps left. You're going back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're like, man, you know, first deployment was different. I think our battalion lost like 7 guys. We had one guy commit suicide.
Shoot.
I mean, it was different.
Yeah.
It was a different environment. You're not ready for that. You know what I'm saying? So after your first deployment, that's when you're like, all right, this is real.
Yeah, this is
like
what I
this
signed up
ain't this
for.
ain't some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're in it now.
Yeah, ain't no backing out.
So when you get your new guys and the older guys start phasing out,
Yeah.
now you're like, man, now I got a baby.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now you got a baby. Now you got to watch him grow.
Yeah.
And you got to remember what your guys did for you.
Yeah.
And you got to do the same for them.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing how you can, trickle down and, like you mentioned before, you had somebody pick you out. Okay, I see potential in him.
Yep.
He's the guy. He's the one that's going to, take ownership and lead. And it's amazing to see that same process, for you to maybe pick somebody out and say, yep, I got a mentor. I got to help lead this next person, because after your first deployment, it's
now you know.
Now
you know.
Yeah.
But and it's weird because I remember when I was young, the young guy, and I'm asking all my guys, like my senior guys, I'm like, man, what do we do? What do we expect? And they're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We went to Iraq. We didn't go to Afghanistan.
Wow.
But then when we had young guys come in for my group,
Y'all know
group,
what to say.
they're like, man, what do we expect? So we kind of knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, they had it a little harder for when we came in.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know either. They had to learn just as much as we did.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time.
Right.
So it was like, man, it was just when we got our younger guys, our junior guys, we call them boots.
Yeah.
When we got them, it was like, you see these cats coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, it was boot camp SY fleet. Some of them had time in between, and you kind of tell the difference, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're just like looking at these guys, like, man, y'all don't know nothing.
Yeah.
From what you've been taught up to this point, you really don't, because they're still teaching Iraq tactics in boot camp and SOI. You know what I'm saying? Those guys still don't really know much about Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So when they came, they were clueless about a lot. So we told them, you got to teach these guys. You got to ingrain it in their head. I was not the nicest person by any means. A lot of guys were like, here he comes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be an asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to be.
Yeah.
Because you know that these guys are going to be in your team.
Yeah.
These guys, you're responsible for their lives coming home.
Right.
And they want to go home.
Yeah.
So at that point, like, I was a team leader on my second deployment, and sometimes I was acting squad leader, just depending on the situation, man. But like, when you've got that responsibility of somebody else's life, my first deployment, I was just the young cat, and I was worried about everybody else. I really wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about everybody else.
Yeah.
But man, on our second deployment, where we went was what they considered IED alley. It was just a bad place, man. There was always IEDs everywhere.
Wow.
And our defensive tools were, so we had Guardian systems, which were backpacks that blocked radio waves, so they couldn't do the cell phone bombs. They call the bomb and set it off, and it would block those out. But you always had pressure plates that you had to worry about.
Okay.
When you step on one, that's what ignites the bomb. So our defense to that was metal detectors.
Yeah.
But they started using smaller wires, plastic components, not the big 155 arty shells.
Yeah.
Like they were using in Iraq and early on in Afghanistan, right? So
Yeah.
you had to change up everything that you learned.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got there, these guys were carrying around these 8-9 foot pieces of bamboo with a cane sickle on it. And I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, what in the hell is that? You know, because I'm point man on my second deployment too.
Yeah.
I volunteered.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've already done it. So now I know what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm in a team leader position now, you know,
Right.
and I, you know, me and my squad leader at the time, he was a Fallujah vet. So he was all about it. He was like, yo, dual point is fine. This is a different atmosphere. Let's do it. Because you had to have two guys up front, one with the metal detector.
Yeah.
One with what we call the sickle.
Right.
The sickle literally, dude, and it was the best defense for IEDs was you reach out as far as you can with this thing and you scrape the ground until you find a wire or a pressure plate.
Nice.
You know, when we first got there, right? We're like, man, what do y'all do?
Yeah.
Like, how do you find these things aside from step on them?
Right.
Because you don't want to do that.
Right.
They're like the sickle. And they explained it to us. And I'm like,
huh.
You might as well just be stepping on the damn thing.
Wow.
I'm like, what if you set it down on a pressure plate?
Yeah, and it goes off. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a risk you're willing to take.
So what's the distance like when those things like explode? Like
that depends.
So
a lot of guys that were mentors of mine, right? So early on, there was the true homemade explosive, which was HME, ammonium nitrate, and whatever they added to it. I can't remember what the second point was. Yeah. But anyway, it's fertilizer. It was a fertilizer bomb made from ammonium nitrate, which is in your best fertilizers, right?
Yeah.
That stuff right there was 10 times more potent than C4.
Whoa.
So C4 can level a house.
Yeah.
Ammonium nitrate, homemade explosives, you know, that shit right there. And it was not stable. C4 is stable. It comes in a block.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of clay. You know, and that shit's stable.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
HME's not. Anything.
Yeah. Shrapnel, like the little pieces of metal and like.
I mean, dude, they were putting explosives in milk jugs. Whoa. They were putting explosives in, well, not milk jug, water jugs. Old 155 rounds, shell casings. Anything that they could put, dude, they would put it in a plastic bag and tape it up.
Wow.
And then they would put ball bearings around that and tape it up again. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they could do.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of the times that people were, some of the smaller bombs with shrapnel, because you had big bombs.
Yeah.
Those were designed for the convoys, for the vehicles, because, you know, you got armored vehicles. You got to blow it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you know, you're talking couple 100 pounds of HME, it would shred an up armored vehicle. Like it would blow it. It would blow it up. And the shell was there. There was nothing else but the shell.
Dang.
The guys inside, they still got rattled. They were still messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
The stuff that we were finding, you're talking 10, 15, 20 pounds. But when you compare that to the human body,
that's
you know what I'm saying? You'd be gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
But those guys were sloppy a lot of the times. Not all the time. You know, they still got the advantage a lot of times, but a lot of the time they were sloppy with putting it in because ROEs changed, man. You know, at first it was anything goes, and then it was certain things that very specific to how you could engage.
Okay.
And so these guys were running up, digging a hole, throwing the shit in there, covering it up, splitting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all, you know, and a lot of you would find those ones.
Yeah, you can easily.
You could see it. You see the wire sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if the wind blew. You know, if the wind blew some of this dust up, you would see components and you would be able to react differently than stepping on the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it got so funky, man, just 45, 50 feet outside of our PB. I remember, man, it was the main road, a canal, another main road, and then you go over the bridge that the military built, a metal bridge over it.
Mhm.
And you just go down this road. Well, our PB was in the corner of the main road and the side road. Well, the bridge to the side road, man, it wasn't big. You couldn't get a military vehicle over it. So you couldn't go that way in a military convoy.
Right.
And right past that, right next to us, there was another little canal, and then our PB here. And then it was a compound. And I remember we had snipers attached to our squad. A lot of the times we would set them in and then pick them up when we coming back in. So they didn't see where we were putting them at, where, whatever. And I remember they had picked up one day, they were like, well, we're just going to go ahead of y'all. Mm-hmm. We're like, all right, whatever. And we had a gator, like a 4x4 gator. Mm-hmm. That's the only way we could get supplies to certain places because the roads didn't go there. Yeah. And then the fields, you had fields everywhere. Sometimes they'd flood the fields just to water their crop. You couldn't get anything through there. Yeah. So I remember snipers went ahead of us. It was just 5-6 guys, whatever it was. And we were back there like a couple hundred yards, but it was a straight stretch. Yeah. And we're walking, I'm point, and there was a goddamn IED right next to our patrol base. Shoot. And they set it off on snipers. Luckily, the guy that it hit most of the contact on with the explosion was it hit his backpack. He had a backpack on it, his Alice pack, and the shrapnel hit that. It didn't hit his body, but the percussion kind of knocked him out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just remember seeing that, man. We're like, it's right next to us. Right. How did that get there?
Yeah. How did he? Yeah.
But we shared a patrol base with the Afghan army and the Afghan police.
See,
that corner was their post.
Okay.
So at night, during the night, we didn't have any military there.
Right.
We had the Afghans, either the army or police, standing that post, watching that route.
Right.
Those guys fall asleep. Yeah. They didn't care. They didn't do anything.
I mean, that's the thing too. I try to think about is like, how do you like determine, these guys who work in the fields or whatever, or the, Afghan military, like how do you differentiate between, could he be the one that's, who's in the Afghan army maybe planted that? I don't know.
So it was weird, man.
Yeah.
You got vibes.
Yeah,
you got vibes because these guys, dude, we patrolled with the Afghan army. We patrolled with the Afghan police. Same thing in Iraq with the guys that were in Iraq. They did this, it was a coalition force, right. And you did things together, trying to kind of build that camaraderie.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
But not so much the Afghan army. The Afghan army were pretty good to go.
Okay.
I mean, these guys, they carried RPKs, PKMs, AKs, pistols,
nice.
RPGs, and they didn't give a shit. Okay. They did not care about anything. Right? So these guys were from different parts. Some of these guys might have been from Pakistan. Some of them might have been from Iran, Iraq, and they just came there to help.
Right.
Some of them might have been locals, you know what I'm saying, at one point, but they didn't like the way their country was going.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So they had a grudge.
Gotcha.
They didn't trust us.
Okay.
Because we were outsiders.
Yeah.
But they still helped us and they still kind of respected us.
Yeah. That's good.
The Afghan police, dude, I remember patrolling with these guys